Welcome to today's session, Voices of Ecosystem, and I'm really, really happy to have Dagmar Eisenbach here in this session. She's in a leading position working for Salesforce, and she will let us know much more about what she's doing and also what Salesforce is doing. We, in our pre-discussion, we already talked or touched a variety of topics, really from psychology, from meditation and artificial intelligence. So we will see what will come out also here in this discussion for the audience. But first of all, very happy to have you here. Welcome, Dagmar.
Thank you, Julian. Not forgetting the archery, of course.
True. But first of all, Dagmar, let us know, what are you doing? What are you doing at Salesforce? What is Salesforce doing in general for all who don't know that in detail? Share a little bit about your journey, what makes you out, what brings you into the topic of ecosystems.
I'm Director of Enablement for Salesforce in EMEA. And there's three big topics that really of interest to me. One is sort of more the business and digital innovation that I'm driving as part of my role at Salesforce. I'm responsible for about 1,000 account executives and their leaders for their enablement so that they have meaningful customer conversations. And second topic with the sustainability, I've actually co-founded a bioenergy plant in the village I live in southern Germany, and I've been on the board for more than 10 years for that. And I'm also the chair of the board of a microfinance organization called Oikocredit. Here, actually, 8,500 members have given us more than 175 million euros to lend to people in the global south. Very exciting, and I guess that shows my commitment to sustainability, and I'll come to speak a bit more about that because that very closely ties in also with what Salesforce is very active in. Last but not least, the power of teams is a third topic. I'm a certified coach, and I love helping teams to work better together. And ultimately, I think each team is an ecosystem in its own way, and making cool things happen and co-creating things. And I think this is really demonstrating also the power of ecosystems, of why we're here together today.
Pretty cool, and sounds like a very busy life. Yeah, that's for sure with all these activities. True. And but maybe coming back to the first topic in your role at Salesforce. So maybe you can share a little bit more about what Salesforce is doing with this in this ecosystem context in general, and also your particular role. So what is your job? What is your daily job? How are you as a director of ecosystem are pushing ecosystems? Yeah.
Okay. Now, ultimately, it's our account executives actually that have a very active role in those ecosystems of our customers. But before I go there, maybe I do not want to assume that everyone knows who Salesforce is. We actually are the number one CRM provider, customer relationship management, and we've been that for the 9th consecutive year with the highest market share. So probably a lot of you might know us, but I didn't want to presume that. And Salesforce is a company that makes cloud-based software to help customers find more prospects, close more deals, and wow their customers with amazing service. So in a way, helping our customers connect with their customers, and each of those, are embedded in an ecosystem. And I've actually joined Salesforce because of the belief that it's not enough for business to do well. Business also needs to do good and use their power, their ecosystems, as a platform for change. And I think there's a lot of change needed, and I think we all can contribute to that. So I also like that Salesforce is actually a big proponent for climate action and is very proud to be a net zero company with 100% renewable energy across all of our operations. Now, that might be easier for a software company than for other companies, I admit, I know, but software can help to measure and make those changes in order to achieve that for everyone.
Sounds very good. The question is, how do you do that in detail? Maybe you can share, you were mentioning the sales accountants you're responsible for. So what are they doing in terms of bringing this ecosystem to life, bringing ecosystem thinking to your customers, integrating solutions with and for the customer? So maybe you can share that a little bit more in detail.
Absolutely. Ultimately, you could say that there is many different players in the ecosystem for us. One, I would say it's the community of trailblazers, and I'll explain them in a moment, the talent ecosystem, and we work with partners for the implementation. So in a way, the big advantage that customers do get when they choose to work with Salesforce is actually that ecosystem of partners that we're working with, because no one can do it all on their own. We can't do that in our private lives, nor can any company do it on their own. Even though, of course, you want to have, like a good number of suppliers. And this is where a platform like Salesforce is very, very helpful, because you can plug and play with a lot of other elements that work on that basis of the platform, so that the platform in itself is the same, but everyone gets it in a different version, and it's a multi-tenant type of thing. So, but I come back, sorry, you've asked how to do that. So community of trailblazers. So who are trailblazers? Any one of you can be a trailblazer. You're probably a trailblazer in a way, Juliana, being a pioneer, an innovator, and also a lifelong learner. I think, people drive the change in their career and their communities and companies, and we all have different roles in those different areas. And these trailblazers are our customers, employees, community members, and partners. And they're people that say no to the status quo. They want to drive change, blaze a trail for others to follow, and have the courage to do so. And our trailblazer community is about 19 million people strong, with more than 2,000 community groups across 100 countries. And one specific example I want to give, because I'm a member of it, is also Earthforce. So it's one of the largest green groups, probably globally, with more than 15,000 members, employees, who have actually provided 75,000 hours of what we call VTO, voluntary time off, of which we are getting 5 days every year. So to make sure that we can give back to the communities that we're a part in. So that's one part. But the next one is actually the trailblazers together also form what we call a talent ecosystem. Because if you think about it, in order to implement a complex solution, you actually need partners to implement them. And they're basically, together with customers and partners, the trailblazers really shape what we call a global Salesforce economy, and that will create about $1.6 trillion worth of new business revenue and 9.3 million new jobs by 2026. And that's not our word, that's what IDC is saying. They're a market intelligence firm. So it's actually pretty cool, also working with universities on that. And then last but not least, you have the partners for implementation for our number one success ecosystem. So you're not only getting the world leading technology, but you're also getting access to that ecosystem. And we have a whole app exchange with 5,000 partner apps and 200,000 partner experts on that app exchange that help scale and grow. So you can see it's not on your own, it's not a single product or a single service, it's actually the interplay of those many pieces that will actually ultimately create success.
And that means you, of course, have a lot of customer communications, customer contacts, and customer projects. Maybe you can share a little bit more about that. What are the topics of the customers with an ecosystem perspective? So where are they further developing? In which industries do you see there, or in which topic segments do you see the ecosystem thinking as most relevant?
Actually, I think the one which actually spans across most industries is actually across sustainability. I have to say, a topic to my heart. I think I've mentioned it before. And there's many, many examples. The one I think I'd love to emphasize is actually what I'd call the sustainable transformation journey. Because I think that's the biggest ecosystem challenge that we have. And you really need many, many partners and players to solve the challenges we're facing. So, for example, you need actors in science, academia, NGOs, governments, and regulators to find the best ways of maximizing the positive impact on nature and climate. These are not necessarily people where businesses are used to working with so closely. It's not just a government affairs type of person who's then care of that. It is actually embedded in the way all of us need to do business, specifically with new regulations coming in, like the Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive, which is coming into effect 2024, where you need to understand your impact on the climate, your impact on the environment, and where you need to be able to show it. And I know very often in business we think, oh God, not another reporting thing, because it seems tedious and just an investment which doesn't create value. However, I think the value that comes from this is a learning. It's the learning on what is our impact and how can we actually have a more positive and constructive input on nature and climate. And that's why it's important to work with all these other players for our understanding and for our learning, and therefore to solve those problems. And I think we talked now preparation. It's not just for the reporting purpose. It's quite the opposite.
Yes.
It's ultimately to create more value, to find new opportunities, and to be creative, to actually and to do that together, because you need those different perspectives to it. And we partner with a ton of people on that. I mean, we're, for example, part of alliances with the Sustainability Purchasing Leadership Council, the Clean.
I think these two names already they are for me quite reasonable and quite famous. But for me, it's more interesting. Maybe you can deeper maybe in one or two projects. Yeah, so or outcomes. Is there an example for this ecological transformation on the business side where you were or you are currently collaborating with your customers or in certain projects so that we make it a little bit more concrete? That would be interesting. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think on a global scale, this has been happening with AT&T. But if we're looking more at a German audience, would know Deutsche Telekom, that we've actually been very proud to be nominated as one of their suppliers and of choice specifically in that area, where we've actually helped in their own journey of transformation. And I think it's specifically helping other companies also to come together to set ambitious standards. I think that's been incredibly important, because you don't want to get involved with anything greenwashing, or you don't want to sound over ambitious and not being able to follow through. You need to be able to set goals that are achievable and aspirational at the same time. And for example, Salesforce has we have made a commitment, not just talking, by 2025, that suppliers representing 60% of our Scope 3 greenhouse gas emission will set their own science-based targets. So we actually work with our own purchasing power to have an impact in our ecosystem.
And maybe to combine that also with the next topic, I mean, in these days, we all are talking about artificial intelligence, ChatGPT and other formats and apps we are using. So what role plays artificial intelligence in that context with sustainability ecosystems, and or in general for Salesforce? So what is that a topic you are also intensively following, like the other players we are reading about these days? And maybe to share a little bit some insights about that, because that I think is a topic which I think will be like addressing us and our life and our business in the next decades.
Absolutely. Of course, that Salesforce with its Einstein predictor has a strong role already in artificial intelligence, and they're using it for learning. I think what you always need to imagine, of course, is that when you use GPT, so we're also using Einstein for GPT, and that's been announced, and I leave this to other people to go in more detail on that. You always need to be aware that you need to have, make sure that your company owned information. If you put this in a generic model, that you're feeding a generic algorithm, and you're teaching that model, and your confidential data is gone. So you need to actually implement GPT and AI in a way that you can still guard and have trust. Trust is our number one value, that no one sees the data that shouldn't see it. So it's very important to think about how you implement AI. And I think AI is certainly some technology that can help you and is already helping us. But I think, as we spoke about earlier on, there are certain things that AI will not be able to replace humans in, and that is with creativity, and it's with empathy, and it's with anything that's incredibly tactile and complex. So I think it's a good call to action for our own creativity and strengthening these muscles in ourselves, because this is how will be our differentiator. And we have enough, I think, space to apply our creativity in some of these very meaty projects like sustainability.
I totally agree. So, looking forward, hopefully, for a prosperous future. So, I see that more in a positive way, of course. We were also talking about loss of jobs. We had that in all times. We probably will have that also with artificial intelligence, but we will also then find new opportunities. And I think that's at least the way I see it. What do you think? How will that influence, in general, our life?
I personally believe it'll be more of a transformation of job. And I think it is a really an important reminder that we need to do lifelong learning and adapt and change, because there will be completely new jobs that currently don't exist. Like new jobs have been created. Now, one very cool one I've come across, which it might be we need to learn how to prompt GPT in the right way in order to get the right answers. So we've actually been having our own Slack channel internally, AI for learning, how do we do that? And also how do we train our executives to use it in the right way? That's fascinating, totally fascinating.
Closing question. So now we were talking a lot about ecosystems in business. Now, my question I always have as a final question in this blogcast is, in which context do you also live the ecosystem mindset in maybe in your private life or in other settings? Is there anything where you are an ecosystem person by yourself, which you can share with us?
Absolutely. I think I've mentioned before that for me, any team is actually an ecosystem in its own way. But very concretely, where I have actually applied ecosystem thinking is when in my board role in the bioenergy plant, where we were facing challenges to getting our subsidy from the authorities. That was worth about 2.5 million euros over the lifetime of the project, and about 400,000 euros at the time. That was pretty crucial for us and our cash flow as a local project. And basically, instead of entertaining the thoughts of actually getting into legal action, I was like saying, guys, look, we'll just figure it out. And I actually went to the source and asked people, what do you need? But I was actually quite nervous about going to those people. So I reached out to my network and to some auditors in the renewable energy space and said, do you know what they might need? And they said, oh, yeah. And they explained to me that, you really need a business case. And I said, oh, okay, business case I can easily do. Let's go about that. And in the end, I provided the business case and everything. And then the company who was looking after the subsidies was saying, oh, no, now we still need to show to our auditor, and we don't know how long that would take. And you need to know by that time you were really short of time on not being able to get any more money from the bank and not being able to pay the bills. And then I was actually saying, oh, I need, for transparency, I need to tell you, I was actually speaking to an auditor in preparation for our meeting because I was nervous about it and I just wanted to make sure, I'm well prepared. Who was this person? And it turned out it was exactly the same person that they were working with. And he didn't actually want to. Then they told me, oh, no, he's not calling back. He's not being in touch. I said, hang on, shall I give you the mobile phone number? I spoke with him on the mobile phone within a day. Anyway, so long story short, we did actually get our money. We made the business case. Everything was well audited and well done and in time. And it was ultimately all down to, working within the network, understanding the ecosystem of players who needed to contribute what, because the company was totally clear they needed that input from the auditor. If I had not understood what the players were, I would have not been able to save our cooperative from bankruptcy. And it's kind of quite an interesting challenge when it's about your neighbors and your own energy provision in the house. So that's one where I have actually applied it. So in my private life, it's actually where I live in the village in southern Germany. And it's a few years ago, we were actually opening up the road in order to get the bioenergy plant going. And that was the perfect opportunity to also look to get the fast internet for the village. And you need to know that there's a lot of people in the village who don't think it's worth their time and money. Well, at the time, it was before the pandemic. And
Okay.
actually, by reaching out to colleagues, I brought in people from the outside who shared what they had done, and by reaching out to people in the village, more the trailblazers within the village, and forming a little working group, reaching out to someone who had met at the conference, who then ended up becoming the advisor to the city. You could see many different people who all played a different role. Oh, because of my engagement in the marketing club, I could also get somebody from the telecom helping out to get a feasibility study done. You see, many different players and many different times. Long story, the result was we got it first, even though we started last amongst the sort of broader context. And everyone was very happy, specifically when the pandemic came and everyone understood how important this fast internet is for us. Then they were very happy to get it done. You only get things done together with other people and being willing to ask about it and by helping others at the same time. And that's fun, I think. This is what I talked about earlier on, the power of teams.
That's a great story, and actually you started with teams and emphasizing the role and the importance of teams, and you end up with that, and at the end that teams are humans, are human beings, and we were talking about technology and AI, and at the end the importance of humans is still there. That's, I think, a really good closing remark. Dagmar, thank you so much for sharing this story and all the insights before. Great to have you here, and hope to see you again. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Julia. It was great to be here.